5 o'clock, I'm Sarah Toom. Police have closed roads in Glasgow city centre as large crowds of Celtic fans are gathering for an unofficial party to celebrate the team winning the Premiership trophy. Glasgow City Council have urged supporters to respect the city during the celebrations, following littering and antisocial behaviour last year. Police Scotland say they'll work to maintain public safety and minimise disruption. These fans were thrilled to retain the title.
So it's really good fun. I'm really excited.
Absolutely delighted. I can't be any happier.
It's massive. It's been a roller coaster this season. It's been a lot of highs, lots of lows, but we've ended up with the trophy at the end of the day, so and that's all that matters. That's it.
We got there in the end. A lot of hard work, good challenges for other teams, but you'd always confidence.
The UK government is being urged to do more to help unpaid carers who are having to give back an allowance which they were overpaid. Critics say the system is too complex and is causing distress. New figures show a total of more than £250 million is owed, but the Department for Work and Pensions says that includes historical debt. Carers' benefits offered by Social Security Scotland are not affected. Tom Royston is a barrister who specialises in social security law. He says carers can take action if they receive a letter chasing them for repayments.
They need to write what the department calls a waiver request, setting out why they think that they shouldn't have to pay it back. The second thing is to check whether there really is a recoverable overpayment at all. You need specialist advice from somewhere like Citizens Advice.
The Israeli military says it's hit more than 70 targets as it battles Hamas forces across Gaza. Some of the fiercest fighting has been in the Jabalia area in the north of the territory. Late yesterday, Israel announced that troops in Gaza had discovered the bodies of 3 people taken by Hamas during its attacks on the 7th of October last year. Ukraine's president says he expects Russia to step up its offensive in the northeast of the country, where Moscow has made some of its biggest territorial gains. Vladimir Zelensky maintained the situation in the Kharkiv region was being controlled, but said the Ukrainian military required at least another 120 F-16 fighter pilots. He said a lack of manpower was sapping morale. Traffic police are investigating after an elderly pedestrian was seriously hurt in a collision with a car last night. The 86-year-old man was taken to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in a critical condition following the incident at 5:20 at the Clarkston toll roundabout in Glasgow. The driver of Mercedes GLE was uninjured. Police have appealed for help to trace a missing 24-year-old man from Airdrie. Jack Gibson was last seen in the Hill End Reservoir area at around 3 yesterday afternoon. He hasn't been in contact since, and officers are becoming increasingly concerned for his welfare. He's described as 5'6" tall with long, fair hair. Scientists say there could be a repeat of last weekend's spectacular displays of the northern lights early next month as new solar storms are driven towards Earth. The sun is reaching a period of peak solar activity, as our science reporter Georgina Ranard explains.
This sunspot is 15 times as wide as Earth. Since hurling out 5 storms of plasma and magnetic field last weekend, it has now rotated away from this planet. But when it comes back in around 14 days, it could create more aurora. Scientists say the sun is reaching a point in its roughly 11-year cycle called solar maximum. This creates more sunspots as its magnetic poles flip. The powerful storm last weekend disrupted satellites, disturbed GPS, caused some flights to reroute and put stress on the power grids. But officials say that advance warning and preparation meant the disruption was limited.
To sport now, as we heard in the news, Celtic beat St Mirren 3-2 before being presented with the Scottish Premiership trophy earlier today. Joe Hart was given a standing ovation from the crowd in his final Celtic Park appearance, with the goalkeeper retiring after next weekend's Scottish Cup final with Rangers. Hearts and Rangers drew 3-3 at Tynecastle, while Dundee and Kilmarnock drew 1-1 in the other final top 6 fixtures. The final bottom 6 fixtures take place tomorrow, with Ross County and St Johnstone seeking to avoid finishing second bottom and entering a relegation playoff with Raith Rovers. Head coach Roberto De Zerbi will leave Brighton after their final Premier League match of the season at home to Manchester United on Sunday. Chairman Tony Bloom said the Premier League club and De Zerbi have mutually agreed the Italian's departure. In the United Rugby Championship, Glasgow Warriors are in the closing stages of their game with Lions in South Africa. Warriors trailed by a point at halftime. And Scotland's weather tonight, most showers will die away. Western and southern areas will see clear spells and lows of 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. BBC Radio Scotland News.
You're tuned to Off the Ball, the most petty and ill-informed sports programme on radio. How was the season for you? Your favourite Scottish fictional characters, clothes caught on camera and celebrated in song. I'm Stuart Cosgrove, he's Tam Cowan, and you're tuned to the odd couple of Scottish football. It's coming to the very end of the season. Still much to play for as Celtic fans celebrate in the east side of Glasgow. I think Stranraer and East Kilbride fans will be nervously looking forward to the next 10 minutes.
Very end of the season. It's coming to the very end of Saturday night. What are we doing sitting here at 5 o'clock?
Absolutely.
But it does allow us to reflect on everything that has been happening. The Stranraer East Kilbride game finished in a draw, so we'll keep you posted on that as that goes into extra time and penalties, or who knows, is it straight into penalties, but we will keep you posted. We've got the Dead Rubbers to look back at. Of course, you've got Inverness against Hamilton Accies at 5:30. That is on the BBC Alapa channel. Feel free to watch that from 5:30 with the volume down and the radio up for us. Loads and loads of stuff to look back on the whole season, but we're asking you now, we need to jump ahead if you like to the morning. Before I ask how was the season for you, it's like the wrong tense we're using there, because you, of course, and I must say, Stuart, on behalf of Motherwell Football Club, the Motherwell supporters, particularly the season ticket holders, and every penny counts. The Motherwell Hospitality Department, thank you for your late equaliser against Ross County in midweek, because that would have killed it tomorrow.
I kept it all bubbling.
Zero spectacle, no interest.
Look, I can't say how the season has gone because it's not gone yet. Although I have to say that on the basis of recent performances, we look a poor shadow of our former self. And I have to say, it was on the 17th of May, so yesterday, we were celebrating the 10th anniversary of our famous cup win, the first of the 3 cup finals.
Yeah, I saw the team photo of that with the boys looking resplendent in their suits.
When we were kings.
I know, the word staunch immediately sprung to mind.
Oh,
Did I spot the navy suits and the brown shoes?
So you're allowed, so now, you're getting into the world now where a blue suit's owned by Rangers fans? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, but it was that look which again in Scottish football terms is deemed staunch, and it's deemed the Rangers
only by passing, I'm not going to use the B word, bampots,
right.
But the thing is that was the chosen look of the time. And I think if you go back, it's quite interesting that, because we're talking about clothing caught on camera later in the show, but that was 10 years ago, de rigueur, Tam.
Right, okay. Well, what I need to ask you, though, is that, who knows, maybe now the Rangers fans will be cheering for St Johnstone rather than Ross County tomorrow. But it's a good one for the neutrals. We obviously know you'll be supporting St Johnstone. And even for the purposes of balance, Stuart, I'm sorry, and no offence whatsoever to Ross County or Ross County fans or the players, but I'm cheering for St Johnstone as well, because you're my pal. You're my co-presenter. Courtesy of your good self, I've met many a fine gentleman and lady from Perth down through the years. So yeah, it's one of these bizarre things. At risk of Ange Postecoglou racing over and pointing the finger at me as he did in the game the other night.
Aye.
There may indeed be a wee element of me not too bothered if we get beat tomorrow by St Johnstone.
The important thing isn't what you think, it's what the Motherwell management and players think. and they've still got something to play for. Stuart Kettlewell.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Curiously enough, when you look back on your season, you'll look back in that period where a lot of Motherwell fans wanted Kettlewell out the club.
Right, the bottom line is, absolutely. 17 games without a win, put out the cups by St Mirren, League Cup, Hibs, Scottish Cup. We had a dire old time of it, picked up a bit of form in the second half of the season. But you're right, Sugarly Peg, it was many a time for Stuart Kettlewell. And again, our marquee result, the only result worth talking about that we got was a win at Ibrox, which indeed was our first win there for Donkey's year. So, there's still that wee bit, we get beat 3-0 last week with Hibs. Fans will maybe think, was there an ailment? The passports out, one eye in the holidays, beach balls, sunglasses and all the rest of it. So, they'll be looking for a good final performance for Motherwell tomorrow. But, it's going to be fascinating. But what I want to know is, for whatever reason you like, tell us, for all the neutrals out there, every single listener who does not support St Johnstone or Ross County, and in a strange way would particularly like to hear from the Raith Rovers fans. Raith Rovers, of course, are lying in wait. They're hovering like vultures, waiting to see who they can pick off. So who do you want to get into that scrap with Raith Rovers and potentially disappear down the league? Give us your thoughts, your honest thoughts on that one. Saints or Ross County, who are you cheering for? Who do you want to wave tatty by?
Let me run the risk of riling our guest, or one of our guests tonight, Tam McManus. Our other guest is Dougie Payne, a guitarist with what Scottish combo, Tam?
With Travis.
Travis, thank you for that.
And what's my lovely wee bit of detail on Travis that you always have a smile at? When we were offered years ago in the telly, great news, said our then producer, Tony Followell, formerly producer of this show as well. We've got Fran Healy from Travis.
Yes.
And I asked, who's she? So that was me and my popular music. There we go. But we've got Dougie Payne.
Dougie.
Or you prefer, is it definitely Dougie?
Like a Dougie in life.
Right, okay, we'll ask Dougie or Dougie. But we've got Mr. Payne, and he'll be joined by Tam McManus. Hey, there's one way of
Well, look, you've mentioned Mr. McManus now. I'm going to actually say, I know that he lives out in EK, he's East Kilbride.
He's East Kilbride, yeah.
I'm going to actually say that I want Stranraer to win that game, that crucial game. And here's the reason why. I think that too often you hear, particularly from the big two clubs in Scotland, that there are far too many clubs in Scottish football. You hear that a lot chucked about as a kind of thing. And I always find I actually rile when I hear that, because I don't think anybody has got the right to determine what community does or doesn't have a football club.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Stranraer have been part of the Scottish game
there's
for
another
a
one.
long time.
No, exactly. No, the clock is on.
Does Glasgow need another team?
Well,
now you'll get East Kilbride folks say, we're no Glasgow.
I know.
I'm kicking the arse off it.
No, I know. They're up the back road, right? But what I would say is that, and it's tick-tock with that game. We will get, a definitive result in just a matter of minutes. But what I would say, Stuart, is the reason with that one, I maybe get a wee soft spot for Stranraer as well. You're right, because they have been a bit of a fixture in the Scottish League setup. But you could argue as well, they're one of those clubs, and a lot of them have fallen by the wayside now because of the pyramid system. Stranraer were one of those clubs that were treading water and didn't seem quite content. Who cares if we're bottom of the league? It's not as if we can get relegated in the bottom division. But, all that, of course, has changed. But what I would say is that, for a start, it was at Stair Park, Stranraer, that I saw, for the only time in 45 years of watching Motherwell as a season ticket holder, a Well fan streaking.
Oh, lovely.
But being a Well fan and a good Scottish streaker, he kept his pants on, of course.
Yes.
So he streaked at a Scottish Cup tie down there. We bit a soft spot for Stranraer for that image.
Sorry, who had the soft spot?
And that was part of it as well. And what I would say about East Kilbride is there is no doubt in my mind that if East East Kilbride don't get up into the senior leagues this year, then it is only a matter of time. So, again, but give us your thoughts on that. You need to be quick with that because the result is going to be determined soon. Stranraer or East Kilbride. But we're
Hamilton
asking you,
Inverness. Oh,
yeah, 5:30 tonight. Again, I really fear for Inverness because they've had two big stories come out of the club, I think, in the past year. One, of course, was the appointment of Duncan Ferguson, a huge booking, and I'll hold my hands up. I thought he was going to get Inverness into the playoffs at the top end of the league the minute he was appointed. I get that wrong. But if you take that out of the equation, the only other thing you really heard about Inverness, and this is why I'm worried for them, Stuart, it was always about finance.
Aye.
You know, so if they had to drop down a league, you would really worry about Inverness, Caledonia and Thistle. So how do you think that'll pan out?
You know what?
2-1 to Hamilton Accies just now.
Yeah, I
Beautifully poised.
I think Hamilton will probably do it. I think that Duncan, despite the kind of greeting of him arriving, he was clearly box office. He was on the telly, on the radio.
Yep.
I don't think he's yet proven that he's a top manager yet.
Well, you know
and
what?
I think that in lots of ways that's probably not good for Inverness.
Between that tonight with Duncan Ferguson and then tomorrow with Craig Levein, the bottom line is there's a lot of personal pride, I think, at stake as well. When Craig Levein came in to St Johnstone, the guys who fancied him going to St Johnstone would have been talking about his pedigree and all the rest of it in management and his experience, blah, blah. And I saw a few tweets about that, I think, this morning or maybe last night, alluding to that about, right, it's like cometh the hour, cometh the man. We need Craig really to show us what he's got now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think
there's an element of that with Duncan Ferguson as well.
Correct, yeah. I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind in Perth that Craig Levein has at very best divided opinion. You know, there are some people that would want him replaced even before our game tomorrow and have one of the other staff members managing the game. That would seem very, very extreme now, but he's not nearly as popular as one would think he might have been.
There's about three things there right at the top of the show we want you to have a good think about. How was the season for you? Whether, like Celtic, congratulations to the Scottish champion Celtic, you were lifting the silverware, and then tonight it seems descending on the Merchant City in Glasgow for a party, or you might be at the other end of a league. So no matter who you support, how was the season for you? And I would like the neutral's perspective about who, quite frankly, this is off the ball. Who do you want to drop out of the top flight? Is it St Johnstone or Ross County? And give us your reasons why. I will take all your thoughts on that game tonight, Inverness against Hamilton Accies. Stuart, one that I must say we've got lifted. I said earlier the Rangers fans might be cheering for St Johnstone due to the navy suits and the brown shoes, staunch personified, and it was one of my pals who support Rangers who I've got to thank for this next topic. He sent it to me today. He saw it in one of the Rangers fan sites, and he says that would be good for your show. The thread was the Rangers player who has been most celebrated in song, and I thought, right, we can widen that out. So what we're asking you, it's a very, very good one. Thanks to my pal, thanks to the Rangers fan that posted it. The most celebrated player in song at your club. I was fascinated by this when I started.
Well, you know what? I think that there's an era thing around this. I think there was a greater celebration in the 60s, 70s, maybe tipping into the 80s. If you look at some of the big ultra groups now, they do chant, they do have chants, but they don't tend to. We've got a song for Dimitar Mitov. I can't even remember quite how it goes, but he's the only person that has his own song.
Yeah, and once
that's
upon a time,
it's quite common for them to celebrate the team, but not the player.
And I think, is it a dying art, for example? Because when you think recently, Keith Lasley, Keith, of course, had his own that kind of Icelandic clapping chant thing, you know.
Yeah.
Just a Keith. and then the big pause and right. But then you go back years and it was like the full Andrew Lloyd Webber, Tim Rice numbers. You know what I mean? Now, Joe Wark, the late, great Joe Wark, Motherwell fans of a certain vintage. So he had his own. His name is Joe Wark. He's a king of the West. He plays at Fir Park and he's one of the best. He'll drink all your whiskey in Newcastle Brown. The Motherwell boys are in town. Right. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful.
Do you know what? I think there was an art form. I have to nod to my old friend Dave Cumming, who's out in San Francisco now. He left Perth when he was in a music band and was a lyricist. And on the bus we used to go to away games. He was always good at composing songs. The one, funnily enough, actually, the day after we'd won the cup, we were in the Sandeman Bar. Used to be our library. It's now a bar. And he heard in the corner these older guys singing a song in praise of one of our former players. And he said to me, Riley, that's still my greatest hit, he said.
All right. And who was the player?
It was Henry Hall.
Oh, Henry Hall. So it's his chant, his song.
Henry Hall is a general and the leader of the band. You get that?
Right, yeah, aye.
Henry Hall is a general and the leader of the band.
I've got, obviously, as you're singing, I've got no idea of the tune.
Oh, goodbye.
Oh, Piccadilly. Right. Farewell, Leicester Square.
Yeah.
Tipperary.
So what's interesting about that is why does Henry Hall, the leader of the band, connect to this show?
Henry Hall was one of the first ever broadcasts on the BBC.
The very
radio.
first.
Was it the
live.
very first? Aye.
Yeah. Henry Hall and his band live from the Gleneagles Hotel, Perthshire.
You're forgetting I've got all his albums. That was an easy one for me. Dearie me, Henry Hall, a giant of music. So let's not think
He's
that's a
still
cracker.
waiting to be paid. He should never have set up that production.
I think that's a cracker. Thanks when it's due to my mate who supports Rangers and indeed the Rangers fan who posted that earlier today. Who is your player?
Can I just ask you, do you lurk on follow the way you do on Twitter?
No, I gave up with the things that I look at now. I like Rangers Media for Rangers, Kerrydale Street for Celtic, Jambo's Kickback for Hearts, Hibs Net for Hibs, Steelmen Online for Motherwell, and I kind of think that's it just now.
Yeah. It's gone wild because I think the forums are dying, if not dead. In part because
I think you get some great stuff on them.
I think that there's been a gravitational pull to Twitter and Facebook media, and people set up their own accounts within that.
Right.
And if you want to follow, it's a long time since I've gone onto a dedicated St Johnstone forum.
Well, I think there's a lot of great content. Even if they slaughter me from time to time on this show, but if I use Pine Bovril as an example, which is my favourite, my go-to place, you dip into that, the general nonsense forum, and there's just great content about all sorts of things in life. I love it. But anyhow, how was the season for you? And we're asking you as well, St Johnstone or Ross County, be honest, who do you want to wave tatty bye to? And do you think that is on the cards? Were you impressed with Wraith Rovers last night? Gut reaction, Stuart, is St Johnstone in the playoff? I think you would have sooner played Partick Thistle,
you know what? It's a very, very kind of minor one, this. But I was wanting Wraith Rovers to win for Wraith Rovers. Yep. So it was kind of like in two minds because I thought Thistle would probably be the easier of the two options.
Right.
But, and sometimes there's a psychological thing when you're a fan. Top players at Wraith Rovers. So I'm thinking Dylan Easton, Scott Brown, their captain, were freed by St Johnstone. So there's a side of you thinks, well, we made a mistake, first of all, freeing these guys, particularly Scott Brown, who I think has been sensational in these playoffs. I think he's been the dominant player.